everyone, and welcome to NECC's Overwatch matches of the evening. I am Waffles for Sid, and joining me today is LaFawn over on the analysis side, and we are stoked to bring you today's first Overwatch match. We are going to see Aquinas face off against CMU Varsity. LaFawn, how are you doing? And what are your thoughts going into some of the matches today?
Super excited as always. It's tough not to be, right? Overwatch is such a fun game to kind of commentate over. And you and I have gotten a chance to see, collegiate teams play. We got a chance to cast them, obviously, last week, which was super fun. Now coming into this week, getting more opportunities to do so is definitely going to be, sort of always when it comes to a new cast with new teams, I'm always able to or always excited to contrast how teams play against each other, right? So
Totally.
because you can get a relative strength or a relative idea of sort of the style that a section wants to play that we can often get into, which is super cool. Here, obviously, Aquinas versus CMU as we get a quick look across the board. Coming out into this, we always have to, pause at the question, what are we kind of going to get a chance to see here, Sid? Because stylistically, we've seen so much already, and that's super exciting.
Totally. We have seen everything from dive to rush and, all the variations of the brawl and poke that come along with those compositions. We are going to be going to three maps today, regardless of the win-lose status for all of these teams, starting off here with Busan, follow up later with Hollywood and Rialto, but we're going to kick it off down here and at downtown.
The players getting set to go. And the thing that strikes me about downtown Busan here, or at least the map of this, is that this would make a very terrible downtown experience. You know what I mean? There's not really much to do here.
Yeah. I mean,
Where's my restaurants, right?
There's not going to be a lot of nightlife.
It's really very disappointing. It's pretty though.
5.
Yeah.
Map score is very heavily used in, or dive composition is very strong. That's where teams are opening up with Somber Reaper Rush and Tracer on the other side of Aquinas. They are underway here as the gates unlock Sid, and the both teams trying to look through Mega Room through.
Yeah, engagement coming around here on this outer edge. The dive has already pushed forward here from Aquinas as Winston jumps in. Ober manages to get the kill and follow up on the damage there onto that support, but there has been an exchange onto the DPS. It is still an all-out brawl in your face, and there are two going down from Aquinas. That's going to be busting open doors for CMU to take the point for this first cap.
Stylistically, this composition from Aquinas doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's not that the fact that the Tracer's bad, right? It's that the Sombra opens so many more doors for the opportunities, right?
Right.
The hack can be so strong. You apply it to the Moira or the Lucio, well, there goes your healing. You apply it to the tanks, and they have no more, escape abilities, and therefore are squishy and easily taken down. And obviously, the DPS boost their movement abilities as well. And so I think here, the fact that Tracer and the Reaper has more consistent damage, but they're going to need to be a lot more proactive with their engagements.
Coalescence opening the fight from Terramon, getting a kill onto Pico there. Hack comes through, and there are many going down right after. Aquinas is going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Exactly that. We saw Obra getting hacked out as the Coalescence was activated, and that means no escapability, no Wraith block available, and no sustain. So CMU, now they're in a position where they're coming up on those massive ultimates, the EMP, the Death Blossom. Aquinas is going to have to get a early pickoff with no return if they want a chance back in this round.
Forcing some good movement there. There it is, a big EMP or a big bomb comes through, and now sound barrier has been triggered. CMU still holding strong here, hacked up a bit, but it is a back and forth fight as Aquinas is desperately trying to get some damage done. A couple of them have fallen down, but this Tracer here is trying to do everything they can in their power to keep this fight and this push alive. Some engagement here a little bit at the front, but it is still anybody's chance to turn here. Oh, but with Bunny going down, LaFawn, that's going to be even tougher for Aquinas to take this back.
The hack there on the Lucio at the very end. Pico not able to use the sound barrier. Now this is last fight territory for CMU. They're staring at that 80% mark. And Aquinas now has the sort of potential of trying to force an issue in this last situation. We're going to switch over to the Wrecking Ball, trying for the more aggressive gameplay. There just needs to be a sound barrier engage here from Aquinas as they get to the objective.
That sound barrier will absolutely beat them up for this engagement, and the Coalescence has been popped. Pico throws the sound barrier, catching a few of his team members, but the self-destruct catches Bunny in the meantime. Members of Aquinas are falling left and right as CMU Varsity looking good and looking strong as they continue to try and focus fire down the last couple players of Aquinas left. With Wayward going down, that is going to be a first round going over to CMU.
It's not a particularly close round in terms of the numbers advantage, right? 100-0. It's always a tough thing to see for like the opposition team as Aquinas is here. I don't think the issue with the play from Aquinas really is their mechanics, though, right? I think in some of these neutral fights, they're right there with CMU. I think stylistically, their composition does not have a real win condition established, and that's where I think where some of the pressure came from in that last round. As a result, here as we get set for the second stage, there are going to be some changes, and I like this a lot. If your composition doesn't have those win conditions, change it to a different one that does makes things more effective. We have the Gravitic Flux obviously online now. McCree is a lot more consistent with the damage throughput, and I think for Aquinas, this is now playing a little bit more to the strengths of a style that they want to play rather than sort of a semi-mirror that they tried in the last.
Very different types of engagements going to be coming through here with double shield from Aquinas and CMU running the more dive composition tanks. They're engaging from the side and some help coming through. Immortality Field has been committed to Aquinas as they get aggressive. Moving forward, Black Magic has been taken down and CMU is retreating back as we speak.
As I kind of hinted at the opening round of this second stage, right? It's really Aquinas changing the angle of attack, right? They're no longer going for a sort of engage that's all about pressure with a Tracer Reaper. Now they're playing around the wall of the Reinhardt. I think this is a big change, a big difference. Wayward's going to have the Shatter very swiftly. It's going to be a big difference maker.
What a shutdown! Noah goes ahead and kicks Terramon out of the Coalescence in the middle. Shatter comes through, and that is all Aquinas in the kill feed. LaFon taking them down and holding strong.
Particularly for Aquinas too, is that they only use one ultimate. They win it so cleanly that it's it's a one-for-one trade that they win so one-sidedly. This is going to be big for their next part of the round. CMU are not going to have to try and really commit to the fight in the next engagement. They don't have a lot to work with, just the Primal Rage, and Aquinas coming up with a Gravitic Flux here in this next fight.
Aquinas looking way better than they did this first round. And, oh man, open it up with the boulder as we speak. The grass comes through, following up with even more damage and trying to get those kills onto CMU. Wayward goes down in the midst of the chaos, and even after a beautiful opening, it is CMU turning this fight in their favor, taking down Aquinas and flipping the point over.
Aquinas, unfortunately, don't have the conversion on the amplification matrix into the Gravitic Flux that they were quite looking for. But realistically, they have, some tools coming in. This is not sort of a death sentence in terms of a round score. 57% is pretty respectable. Now, you obviously have the sound barrier for the defensive end in terms of the Death Blossom or the Coalescence. And of course, you can try and walk in with Reaper ultimate here, trying to get some value, of course, out of
Caught by Andy. Doesn't find any kills yet. That sound barrier touched everybody on Aquinas there. Self-destruct has been thrown towards the point, forcing Aquinas back and to give the space, but they are all filling the kill feed here as CMU is trying to retreat back, doesn't get away in time, and they're going to retake this point here with 57% and counting.
A lot of discipline from Aquinas in that last engagement, right? They don't overcommit. The sound barrier is used defensively when necessary, and they only use the Death Blossom in return. And so they set themselves up for success. CMU are going to look for a hero play here with the Coalescence to open into the Pulse Bomb, and that's going to have to try and get a pick off.
An accretion as another opening hit from Aquinas there. ATB absolutely killing it on that front. There is a Coalescence coming through from Terramon, and those have been racked up very quickly. Wayward gets the pin kill, and Noah just continuing to pump the damage out as this McCree in the backline here. Pico has kept everyone topped off, not even being contested, LaFon.
They are going to get the point flipped over, and you can see now Tracer trying their best as Silent continues as not going to mean for much in terms of percentage, but anything is better than nothing, and Aquinas now is prevented from pushing over to the 95% mark early. The recontest is going to be available, but it is last fight territory here.
They have got to keep their eye on Pico as well in the back. He is being uncontested and just topping his team off left and right. Black Magic opens up the fight with the Primal Rage straight into the midst of Aquinas there. The Immortality is committed and Death Blossom thrown. So many members of Aquinas have gone down after that. Obra's trying to save this fight for himself and gets two in the process. Overtime bar has been triggered, but CMU looking to flip this point here and hold out just a bit longer.
Just Blossom doesn't quite get the elimination onto Black Magic, and so CMU is able to stabilize at the very end with Silent getting a ton of value on the Tracer. So reset now for Aquinas, who doesn't have anything really in their bank. They're going to have to play this one smart. They're going to have to play this one slow and try and build up resources, else CMU could steal this round away from them.
Another Coalescence opening up the fight. We've seen this many times from Terramon. CMU trying to get aggressive in this initiation, but it has come back to bite them. Wayward goes ahead and takes down Black Magic, and now that sound barrier enables Aquinas even more with their aggression. That speed boost coming through let Noah take down Silent right there, and now ATB hits another accretion, trying to follow up with the damage of the Flux. Manages to wait long enough to capture Sky. They're trying to close out this fight and take the point back, but this self-destruct right here in front of Noah's face pops it just in time to dash away around that pillar, but it was a close call. Aquinas trying to capture this point as both teams now have 99%, and it is anybody's match. Back and forth exchanges. Now CMU pulling ahead in the kill feed, and LaFon, I think that is going to be the nail in the coffin.
CMU close out the round. They inch it away from Aquinas, who were unable to quite confirm the fight. Not quite able to close out the round, but it was so close, that 100-99 at the very end there, Sid.
Oh, man.
Just a slight understatement in terms of engagement, right? When you're unable to quite close out that fight despite having the number advantage, you just know that CMU, as sort of the time kind of ticks over, they're able to kind of play out the round and say, okay, this is coming closer into our favor, just keep fighting. And it was a really strong performance from CMU towards the end to close it out.
Absolutely, yeah. With Andy over there at what was it, 81% or 71% kill participation. That is a lot of teamwork coming through, and a lot of follow up on those opportunities that are created. And I mean, half the battle is creating them, and the other half is communicating to your team to capitalize on it. And there obviously had a lot of great synergy come through. Not to knock Aquinas off, though, I think that they did fantastic that second round. And I mean, almost showed us a completely different team. Maybe got some of that warm up jitters out.
Right, and to that point, I think I actually want to talk about the first round for Aquinas specifically,
Ooh.
because I don't think mechanically, like I said at the halfway point of the map, I don't think mechanically they were that far off. I think compositionally their system didn't really have a lot to kind of contest. Right, the Sombra is a huge part of that composition. Not having it really closes down avenues of attack that you then have to make up with brute force. And obviously, when you're just going to lose fights to EMP because you have no way to kind of counter it out, then if you're going to lose 2 fights per round, then you can kind of say that your chance of winning has dropped significantly as well. So I think for Aquinas, it's not really a critique of the team specifically. I think it's a critique of how Overwatch kind of works out a lot of the time. It's
Right.
not, in some instances, their fights you're just going to lose, right? That's kind of how it
Absolutely.
works. It's not, and I think if for the next couple of maps, what that means is with the fact they were able to switch to a different composition and perform quite well, I actually have high hopes for them in map number 2 and beyond.
Yeah, I am totally with you there. And that Sombra plays a big role. We see it all the time in Overwatch how EMP alone, just EMP, can be that fight winning and fight ending ultimate there for the other team. And Sombra is a character that takes away abilities when everything about you is everything that makes you you is your special abilities that you can bring to the table. So being stripped of that is always tough. It looks like here we are going to go over to a quick break, folks, before we go over to our next map. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be back with Hollywood.